Okay, I want to demonstrate my workflow for kind of creating some instruments in Synfire using Kontakt. And so I'm going to start out. I created this template I call Kontakt 16 blank channels, and I'll do another video showing you how to create that, but it's really pretty simple. So anyway, I've got this template and I'll load it up. So this gives me a blank arrangement. Well, not a blank arrangement. It gives me an arrangement with this Kontakt template, and I'll show you how that looks. So, oops, I don't know why there we go. Okay, that's better. Okay, there we go. All right, so basically what you want to do, if you like this method that I'm using, you're just going to create a Kontakt Multi with 16 blank instruments. Okay, the way you make a blank instrument, you just go to File, New Instrument, and that's all you do. Oops. Okay, and then obviously you want to make sure that you're going to create 16 of these for the 16 channels. Make sure each one, the channels, the MIDI channels integrate. So here you've got MIDI channel 1, MIDI channel 2, up to 16. And then make sure all your outputs are set to the main, stereo 1. And you're good to go. And save that. I call it 16 blank channels. Save this under Kontakt and do Save Multi As, okay? So save that. All right. Next step. All right, so once you get your Kontakt Multi saved, you're going to start a new arrangement, and you're going to drag in a Kontakt instrument from your rack module, whatever you're using, Kontakt 7, Kontakt 8. I'm not too keen on Kontakt 8. It seems to be a little slow and too memory intensive. I don't know, but I'm using Kontakt 710, and that I really like that. So yeah, just go to your instruments and go to your native instruments, and then drag in your Kontakt, and then once you do that, just open up your multi that you created, the 16 blank channels. Just open that up and you'll see it appear over here. I'm probably leaving some things out because I realized there's a little bit more to it, so I'll do this in another video. But what I want to show you in this video is the workflow. Once you drag in the Kontakt, I created 16 instrument tracks in Synfire, and I just named them K for Kontakt 01, and the numbers correspond to the MIDI channels. And okay, so put a sticker on that. This will all become clear a little later on. Okay, so once you get this kind of template set up, here's the next step. You just open up your Kontakt Multi, right? And now I'm going to load in another multi, which I created outside of Synfire. And in this case, it's Bravura Scoring Brass. So I hit load, and I recommend you make a folder, call it Kontakt Multis, put it somewhere you won't forget. Okay, so I'm going to load in this Bravura Scoring Brass multi. and it's going to populate the Kontakt 16 blank channels multi. So now I've got my Bravura scoring brass, and as it turns out, Bravura, let's see, I'll show you. I use a 16-bit because I don't want to tax my system too much. And there's basically like 16 instruments here. I couldn't include a couple of them, like some of the effects, but I've almost got all of them in. Okay. All right. So all right. So let's close that. All right. So here's our Kontakt Multi. And this is what we're going to use in Synfire. So this is going to give us access to 16 different instruments. And this Bravura scoring brass has a lot of nice articulations. It's not a complicated setup. It's pretty easy. And it's actually got a lot of cool features. Like there's a key switch which will add mutes to any of the instruments, or not the ensembles, but the solos that'll add mutes, and it's a lot of cool things. And I'm sure you'll agree once you kind of check it out that it's really easy to understand. You know, some of these Kontakt instruments are kind of inscrutable, and there's a learning curve in figuring out the key switch layout and how all that works and da-da-da-da. But this is an older library, and it's straightforward. I don't know what it sells for, but it's at most it's $200. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, what I do is I have a second monitor, so I drag this Kontakt plugin off to the second monitor, because I'm going to refer to it. I need to fill in the instrument names in Synfire. So I go to 1 and I'm looking, so you see the first instrument at the very top in the multi is ensemble trump. Whoops, that's not the first. Let me go to the top. Yeah, okay. So the first instrument is ensemble full brass, and I'm going to put that name over here on the right in instrument label. So you need to have this multi open unless you have a really good memory. Okay, so highlight your track KO1 and then type in your instrument. So I'm just going to type in full brass. I mean, it's obvious full brass is ensemble. Okay. And I think what we'll do, well, we'll do the articulations now. Now, what I recommend, it's worth $100 or $100 and change. You probably know that there's a company called Babylon Waves, and the guy has created like a whole library of Cubase articulation maps, and these things are tedious. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you're going to use Kontakt Libraries, unless you're only doing a few of them, then this Babylon Waves is, you know, pretty much the only game in town, and it'll save you from like hours and hours of tedious typing. So I go to articulations, and you do import expression maps, and it uses the Cubase. Synfire uses the Cubase format. Okay, so what we want to do, it's already taken me to this directory. The latest version I have is Arconductor 10.10. I think he's up to 11. And each update to Arconductor, you know, he adds more libraries as more libraries come out. Sometimes he he updates older libraries. Some of them have some mistakes in them, but by and large, it's pretty good. It gets the job done. So now I have to go to this Bravura scoring brass, and sometimes you need to know the manufacturer, the way he's got it indexed, and I forget. So let's open up, let's take a look here, see if I can figure out. ISW, yeah, the company's Impact Soundworks. Okay, so Babylon Waves is going to have a folder under Impact Soundworks, and then the different Kontakt libraries by that manufacturer will show up. So there it is at the top. All right. And here are all our instruments. So we're doing the ensemble brass, the full brass ensemble, right? Now, you know, don't let these initials kind of confuse you. It's obvious this is IW Impact Soundworks. I don't know where the W is there, but Bravura, BB is Bravura Brass. I'm not in love with, you know, his naming convention, but, you know, deal with it. It's no big deal. You'll figure it out. Now, what you do want to pay attention to is the A stands for attribute and D stands for direction. And this is, Cubase has two ways of using articulations. One, attribute will just apply to that note that you can like tag a note or a chord with a particular attribute. But if I remember correctly, let's say you're doing like the first beat on measure 3, you want staccato, right? Or let's say measure 3, it's all staccato. But then on measure 4, you go back to like sustains. Well, I think with the attribute A, you know, you select the notes that you want to be staccato, but it's the other notes will just default to the sustains if that's your default, right? But the direction, what that does is, if you're on measure 3 and you put in the direction attribute, the direction expression map, then everything after that will be staccato or whatever articulation you're using. Okay, so that's the difference. Anyway, that's a Cubase thing that doesn't, as far as I can tell, doesn't apply to Synfire. So having said all that, I'm using the attribute. If I'm wrong about that, it's an easy fix. So, all right, so this instrument on track 1 here is the full ensemble. So I select that with the A, and I just hit open. Okay, and there's only 4 key switches there. Okay, and I hit OK. So that's it. All right. Then I go to 2, and I'm looking over my other monitor, and that's the ensemble trumpets. And I'll just call that trumpets because I don't want to type ensemble. And I go to my articulations, import, and I can see trumpets down here, and that's the one I want. That's got a lot more articulations. You see them over here on the left, and hit OK. All right, so this is the process. And I'm going to go through the whole thing because, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pause the video, I'll type in the other instruments, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what to do once you've typed in all the instruments and you've added your articulations, okay? So I'll be back. Okay, I typed in the names of the 16 instruments in Synfire, tracks 1 through 16, and I put in the articulations from imported them from the Babylon Cubase expression map files. All right, so we got our instruments, so let's test it. I'll take this trombone solo and just see if it's working. Yep, seems to be working. Let's try that again. Good. And we go to our instrument here, we can select an articulation, right? And I'm forgetting how to do that. That's not what we do. Okay, I don't think we can select the articulations yet. I think I've got to save this. So let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, so anyway, we've got so that's working. We'll select one more low brass just to make sure. We'll do this tuba. Okay, so our instruments are working. Right? Now, okay, here's the articulation. Right. So we can do, let's do staccato. There, you hear that? We could do legato. And the way, I mean, there's just, you know, so many incredible features about Synfire. And this is just one little one where, like, you select the articulation and then it automatically plays it. I don't know any DAW that does that. Man, it makes it nice. So you just use your ears, you know. And then it puts the name down there on the segment, L-O-N-G. Oh man. I mean, it's what can you say? It's about Synfire. I mean, incredible. All right. So what was I doing wrong in the other one? Let me do this French horn. I don't know why I was having trouble finding where to put the articulation, but yeah, you got to click on this icon here, okay? Yeah, that's what I was doing wrong. So anyway, here's your articulation under this thing here. So let's do a trill for the French horn. That's going to be kind of strange because we've got a bunch of notes. So let's do a trill on the last note. Okay, so I'll select this one. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I'll select that note and then I'll hit the trill. Let's do hold. There we go. Okay. So now it's putting it on the whole segment. Let me solo this, see what we're doing wrong here. Okay, I got a feeling you got to break the segment when you want a separate articulation on just one note, like with a trill. And you're not going to have to do this for the most part. So we want to cut, right? So let's try that. How does this work? I don't know. Oh, so I don't waste your time. I'm new to Synfire. Oh, I think you just figured that out. Oh, I know what to do. What do you hit? Ungroup? Is that what you do? Hit, select that note and hit ungroup. I think it's Control G. What do you do? Ungroup, Control U. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's play it now. Oops. Go to the beginning. Oh, I know what. I got to, I think I got to change this segment, change articulation to legato. There we go. I don't know why we're hearing. Let's delete this. Okay. All right, deleted everything. Let's go to horns. French horn solo. We'll open that up. Make a simple segment here. And we'll make this legato. All right, and then we'll do another and we'll do trill. All right. All right, well, I just discovered something I wasn't expecting, guys, but there seems to be a problem with the articulations. When I put the trill in, it's kind of causing a trill to be on this legato. So I am not sure why that is. So when I play it that way, it's fine. Yeah, not sure what's going on, but I'm going to leave that problem aside, and we'll figure that out. But what I want to show you is, regardless of this kind of hiccup with the articulations, the big picture is, this is a template, okay? And so now that we've created this, our 16 instruments in Kontakt. I was able to do this pretty fast. Typing in the names and that kind of thing. It's pretty quick. There's one more step, okay? And if you go to sounds, okay, so this is your device rack, okay? Now what you want to do, this is really important. You want to save, now that you've got your Kontakt Multi set up. I've got my Bravura scoring brass 16 instruments set up. You just want to save this with this button here and do save preset. It's really important to do this. And, you know, just give it an obvious name. Okay. And I'm going to click Save Current Instrument Properties. Honestly, I'm not sure if that's like saving the articulations. I'm not sure what that does. But I've been using it. It doesn't seem to bother anything, so do that. Maybe someone can figure out, tell us like what that does and when you click it, or what happens if you don't click it. All right, so we're saving. It takes a little while. There's 16 instruments. I forgot to mention something. This is important to know about Kontakt. After you set up your multi in Kontakt, you want to go to File and New, Purge All Samples. Okay, so what this does is it allows you to load in these instruments kind of like without loading in all the samples. And it only, Kontakt, you don't need all the samples. Like you may not use all the instruments, or you may only use like 4 or 5 notes on let's say the flugelhorn, right? But if you don't purge all the samples, it'll load in all the notes. Like if flugelhorn's got like 2 octaves worth of samples, it'll load in all 2 octaves, which you obviously don't need. So the technique in using Kontakt is to purge the samples, and then they'll load in as you begin to write the music for the notes that you're using. All right, and yes, it does take a little second to do that, but you know, that's the way to go. Trust me on that. Okay, so we've saved our preset. Now what you can do is up here, give this a label, although you don't have to, as far as I can tell. But this will, you know, we can name our rack module, right? That's what this is. So we'll give it a name, and you can give it a color. I associate like kind of reddish or bronzy colors of brass, because they're made out of bronze, so I'll select that. All right, and so we've got our device rack saved, and we've got all our tracks there, and we're ready to go, you know, to write on that. Now what I do is, obviously you don't want to lose all the work isn't, you know, contained in this device rack. All right, so what you want to do now, what I've been doing, there may be a better way, but I'm just saving this arrangement as a template. All right, so I do save as, and you want to make sure you go to your templates folder, and I'm just going to call it Bravura Scoring Brass. Okay, so it's going to save that. And it takes a little while. Okay, all right. Now, let me address something. Like, you know, there's an issue with Kontakt and all these instruments. The big issue, or one big issue, is, you know, memory, right? I mean, even if you've got, you know, 100 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of RAM, whatever you got, I mean, it begins to bog down. But on the other hand, you know, it's nice to have all these instruments already set up in a big template, and not have to worry about loading them in every time you want to get to work and all that kind of thing. So if one option could be is that you create these things, or now once I've created the device template, you should be aware that you can open up your global rack, okay, and I can drag this Bravura scoring brass into my global rack, and then it would be available, you know, for all the arrangements, so long as this particular global rack is open. And it's a little confusing. It was for me. So you should know that you can have different global racks, right? You can create different ones, right? But the big difference between a global rack and an arrangement rack is that the global rack, all the instruments will be there for all your arrangements, whereas the arrangement rack, they're only there for that particular arrangement. But I don't like putting it in the global rack because it starts to get too bogged down, all right? So my kind of concept is that once you create these templates, like the arranged template I call Bravura Scoring Brass, well, now you know that you've got this device, this device rack inside this Bravura Scoring Brass, and you can drag this into another arrangement. Okay, so I could open up, you know that you can open up multiple arrangements, right? So I can go to sounds, and then I can take this. Wait a minute. I can take that and drag it into this arrangement. All right. So basically, if I had another arrangement template, well, I'll show you. Let me show you. What I'm trying to get across is that you can create you can create these templates having you can create a template having its own device rack made up of a Kontakt Multi, right? All right. And then, okay, so now I'm going to close this. Okay, now I've got this arrangement with no name. Okay, now what I could do, I can do a new arrangement. Wait a minute, no, I know what I want to do. Yeah, I'll do a new arrangement. I'll do open. Okay, that's it. Open. I do open arrangement. And now I got to navigate to okay, template, yeah, okay. Okay, now I can do, let's see, Blue Street Brass, okay? So I'm going to open up this template. And this template is going to have another Kontakt Multi with 16 instruments for Blue Street Brass, which, by the way, is just a beautiful sounding library. It's got like all these historic brass instruments, like, you know, from like the late 1800s and stuff like that. It's really incredible. Okay, so now let's say, here's the idea. I'm making this music. I want to use these brass instruments from the Bravura library, but I also want to use these instruments from the Blue Street Brass library. Okay, so I've got to have an arrangement with both device racks in it in order to write this music. In other words, I've got to have all the instruments I'm going to need in one arrangement. Okay, so now I can drag it in here. Okay, and now I'm going to have both device racks The oh, by the way, I guess I didn't name these, or maybe they lose their name when but that's okay. All right, so now I've got an arrangement with both instruments in it. So let's see what that looks like. All right. Okay, so now, yeah. See, with this method, I've got the instruments. Let's see. Where do they show up? Well, I guess I was premature in doing this video, guys. But let's see. Maybe they're down here. Global rack. So they're not global rack, right? Oh, here they are. Okay. Here they are. They show up here in the rack module library. So the sounds, the device racks, the arrangement device racks, as opposed to the global device racks, show up over here. So now I can drag it in. I'll drag in the Blue Street brass. Okay. And the instrument names don't show up. Okay. So, but maybe there's a cheat here. Let's open up the Kontakt Multi, and guess what? Here they are. All right. Here they are. So they're all here. So we can see what channel is on. So let's say I want this instrument here, trumpet with a mellow plunger. So that's on track 3, right? Okay, so I can drag this back and I go to here, I go to track 3. All right? And let's see how that works. This is with the plunger, right? It's working. It's working. Take my word for it. I've got the Kontakt plugin open on another window, and my monitors have different resolutions. So you see the size here, like this other monitor is high res, so Kontakt opens in high res. Anyway, so you can use this, and I could create like a new instrument, okay, and hit new instrument with same sound. All right, and now I can go here and I can pick another one, another like track 8. All right, and in track 8, MIDI channel 8, on my Blue Street brass multi, I'm scrolling down here. Okay, what do we got? Track 8 is the orchestral cornet. All right. Yep, that's the orchestral cornet. All right. Now, I don't know if the articulations, let's see. Yeah, they're here. It did save the articulations, so that's huge. Staccato. All right. It seems to have saved them. Not sure. Legato. I don't know. What about trill? I don't hear a difference. It's looking like the articulations weren't saved. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't think there were articulations in Blue Street Brass. So this, these articulations must have been carried over. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But anyway, okay, so here's what's going on. You can address in this, so I was able to choose two of the instruments from the Blue Street Brass Multi, okay? This one here. I was able to choose any of the 16 by going by this drop down, okay? So these are the 16 instruments. Now, when you open up a new arrangement and not the template, you know, you lose all the instrument names. But you know what? So what? Like, you know, let's say you're only going to use 3 of them anyway. You can go in and put the names in. I mean, that's not a big deal. So, you know, for number 3, I could put in the whatever it was. Well, this one is the orchestral cornet, so I could type that in. Okay, so now I know what that is. And then I go back on my other monitor, I'll go up to channel 3 because I'm forgetting what that was. And that was the trumpet mellow plunger. Okay. So this is trumpet mellow. Okay, so now, you know, you can see what you're doing, and you're probably not going to want to use, you know, how often are you going to use all 16 channels, all 16 instruments? You're not. So I'm thinking that, you know, this workflow is really good. Okay, now the last thing we got to test is we got to bring in, you know, we're trying to find out. It loaded in. I know what happened. Yeah, I shouldn't have dragged in from the arrangement. Oh yeah, I know what happened. So when you drag in these guys here, you don't have to open up the template arrangement with Blue Street Brass and drag it in here. All you have to do is go up here and drag it in. Okay, so that's the mistake I made. That's why there are 2 of them. All right, so now we know, actually that makes it all simpler. So I guess here's the bottom line. When you create these arrangement rack modules, all right, and this I didn't know, this nuance. When you create these, when I created the template with Bravura Scoring Brass, okay, then that device rack shows up under your rack module presets. Remember that I went over here and I said save preset? So that's where it shows up, that preset. So it's the workflow is even better than I thought. All right. In fact, yeah. So I think you're getting the idea. Let me interject something here, and that is, look, you know, I'm struggling through this thing, and this is not a slick video. Okay. That's obvious. But frankly, guys, like, I don't have, you know, I want to get this information out there, and I'm hoping that you can learn, you know, learn something through my struggles, through my mistakes. And, as a user community of Synfire, we can all benefit. So my feeling is that it's better that I do these videos with warts and all, right? With all the mistakes, and, they drag on a little bit. I'm sorry it's not a slick thing, and I'm showing you exactly what steps, and it's all working perfectly. But if I tried to do that with all these aspects of Synfire, like, I wouldn't be able to come out with much. It would take me too long. And frankly, I don't want to. I don't have the energy. My thing is, I want to learn Synfire. I'm not into, making a YouTube channel and having like 10,000 subscribers. That's not going to happen, right? You get the idea. Okay? That's my apology. Okay, so, all right. So now I forget. Did I bring in Bravura scoring brass? I think I dragged that in, but yeah, it's going to be one of these, I guess. Well, we can see, right? Let's see. I'll open it up. I did too much talking there. All right, let's go back to the structure. And, oh yeah, okay, so now where do we, okay, I think I got to drag this thing in here. So I'll just drag it down here. Now I know I'm creating some redundant device racks, but, I'm learning as I go here, flying by the seat of my pants. Okay, so now we have the same issue that we had with Blue Street Brass. Like, we have the channels, but not the names. But, we can open up the plugin, and thank goodness, we can see our instruments, we can see the names, and then we can pick out what we want, right? So let's say I'm going to use just one instrument from this Bravura scoring brass. Let's say I'm going to go with the ensemble full brass. All right, so that's just MIDI channel 1. All right, so I can close this, and I'm already on MIDI channel 1 here, right? And I'll just put a full brass ensemble. I'll name it. Okay, and let's test it. Yeah, that's working. Okay, so what do we got? Well, we've got 2 Kontakt Multis, each one with 16 instruments. So we've got a total of 32 instruments at our beck and call. The articulations. Let's try this one. Let's see if that. Oh, wait a minute. Let's click on this. So let's see if the articulation is working. Well, it didn't even carry over here. But you know what? I can load it in here. So it's ensemble full brass. That's what it is. So I'll open it. There's 4 articulations. Hit OK. So now let's see. see if I can, let's do staccato. Yeah. Okay, it's working. All right. And it didn't take me long, you know, once an instrument, you know, how long did it really take me to load in the articulation for this? I mean, like 30 seconds. Okay, so I think this is a very good workflow, you know, for your instruments. And I know that, you know, this presentation has been jagged and everything, but I think I've given you kind of the essence of it, you know, which is, you know, create this Kontakt Multi, you know, 16. Let me go back. The Kontakt 16 blank channels. Okay, that's kind of your starting point. All right, so you're going to, you know, create this. It's got your channels. Then you're going to open up. You're going to open up Kontakt. You're going to have these blanks in there. And you're going to have you're going to load a multi, which you've kind of decided on before. Right? You're going to load your multi like Inspire 1. Okay? Load your multi. There it is. All right? And then you're going to you know, you're going to type in your instruments there, put in your articulations, and then save it as a preset. And it's going to end up over here. Okay? So from that point onwards, you're going to be able to use the 16 instruments that you've created, or this multi you've created in Kontakt with Inspire. You're going to be able to use any of those instruments. And you probably, you know, it's going to be rare that you're going to use all of them. You may just use one, you may use 5, you know, whatever. But that's kind of the workflow. And, you know, I think it's, you know, I think it's fast and, you know, not painful, not a lot of typing to put in the instrument names. You know, let's say you're using 3 instruments from Inspire. Well, you know, you go to the track, you figure out what track they're on, what number, and then you type in your label. I mean, you know, and the articulations, however, you know, whatever I'm doing wrong, or if there's a bug, whatever, you know, hey, no big deal. Just go into your articulation, load in your expression map, and you got it. Okay? So you put all that together, and I think you've got a nice, easy workflow that is going to allow you to quickly access your Kontakt instruments without a lot of fuss or muss. And frankly, I spent a lot of time, you know, in the global rack trying to make these things and ran into all kinds of confusion. It was a nightmare. But this is working for me. I hope it works for you. And again, you know, I apologize for the, you know, this YouTube in the sense of, you know, it's got a lot of mistakes in it and all that kind of thing. But I don't apologize for the information in here. You know, I think it's really valuable. It is to me, and if you use Synfire, I think it's really going to help you. I hope so. Put in your comments. You know, I'm just trying to learn here. I think Synfire is just the most powerful composition tool that's come around in 100 years. And you know, the more we can grow this user base and share our tricks and how we use this thing, the better. Okay, so I'll see you next time.